Hi there. I hope this finds you well. I have some more editing to do on the book that I'm writing at the moment, and I thought I'd continue to share it with you. I must admit, I think as I've said before, possibly that editing is something that I have to really struggle to sit myself down to do. A bit like when you used to get homework when you were at school and you had to find excuses not to do it. The book that I've written is based over 7 days, and as you can see I'm still on day 2. I have gone through the book a couple of times already before, but it's just more editing that I wanted to do. So make yourself comfortable, relax, and let's have some quiet time. So day 2, sharing the night. I do apologise. Just before we start, there may be some fruity content, possibly. So I will assess that as we go through. Jared, I'm so sorry. If I'd known. She stopped and pulled out a chair for her at the table in the small wine bar. Got up and pulled a few doors down from the 70s bar and a short walk from the hotel early that evening. Sorry I couldn't see you earlier, couldn't get away, but please, indicating politely to sit with him. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have reacted that way. Yes, you should have. As she sat down, I've been like a bull in a china shop, only thinking about my feelings. And so you should, Gabrielle. There's nothing wrong with that. I am guilty of putting names in. The people in real life don't always say the names. I'll have that one there, but not that one there. Nothing wrong. I've hurt you. I've been here just a few days and... No, you haven't hurt me. I'm just hurting. Maybe it's best if I go. No, please stay. And he took her hand. I want you to stay. Gerald raised his hand to get the attention of the waiter. Some wine? What would you prefer? You choose. I'm happy to go with what we like. I know you would, but I remember you saying you prefer a smooth red, right? Gerard ordered a bottle of Malbec and took a deep breath. It's crazy. It's just been days, but ever since I saw you at the airport, you brought this light into the darkness of my world. Christ, did that sound as corny as I heard it? Gabrielle squeezed his hand. I'd like to think I can help, if you'll let me. It's been nearly 2 years now. I should have said something earlier, and I guess I should be better, right? Certainly better at expressing my feelings. These are to remind me to indent. I don't think it works like that. There's no timeline for loss or love. The waiter brought over the wine and 2 glasses. Thanks, it's okay, I'll pour. Thank you, she said. Thank you, said Gabrielle to Gerard and smiled at the waiter. I've given you so many mixed messages. Christ, you weren't to know any of this. Maggie said, that Crystal spoke with you? Yes, she did. It's just all so sad, but the paintings in the hotel, they are beautiful. Juliet must have been very talented. She was. It's such a waste. Jared's eyes glistened from the reflection of the small lights around the wine bar. I felt like I never deserved her. Gabrielle could see how much pain he still carried and love for Juliet. Tell me about her. Oh, you don't want to hear all of what's in here and here, pointing to his head and his heart. Please, you can tell me anything. I'm here for you. As the evening unfolded, Gerald opened up to Gabrielle about how he met Juliet, how they fell in love, and how she persuaded him to move to this country. She had been brought up in the area with her loving parents and shared her passion and dreams of the area with him and everyone that visited Las Arenas. She was a calming influence with a love for nature, arts and crafts. When her mother Claudette passed, she stepped up to be the rock that her father needed and kept the memories of her mother with her and alive. They bought an apartment together where he still lived, but she had also spent a lot of her days either at the hotel, painting or enjoying her love of the sea. Taking a sip of his wine, he stopped with a sense of bitterness growing in his tone. The sea, it's beautiful. Well, you've seen it, and don't get me wrong, I love the view from my bar, but some days I feel so angry, and it took her so cruelly. All she was doing was something she loved. Hey, it's okay, Gabrielle said softly. I'm sorry. Don't be. You clearly loved her very much. Gerard nodded. Very, it's just hard. How long were you married? Not as long as people thought. We dated for, God, he blew out his cheeks, 10 years. I asked her a few times, but she was always happy to be at the stage we were at. A bit of a free spirit, but she did say yes in the end. He smiled at the thought of it. And we're married 2 years later. And we're married for 2 years. And we're married for 2 years. And we're married for 2 years. She was and is a large part of your life. I mean, don't get me wrong, not every day was a happy day, but it was the tough days that brought us closer. Maybe that's why she is still so close to me now, I don't know. And that's how it should be. Gabrielle took a sip of her wine and shivered a little as the temperature had dropped and the wind had come up a little while they were talking. You're cold. Sorry. There's me chatting on. God, what must you think of me? Do you want to head inside or want a bite to eat? I'm fine, honest. I ate earlier, but maybe something in a while. So you still want to spend time with me? Gabrielle looked directly at him into his eyes. I think, Gerard, you're a beautiful man who has had a lot of pain, and as I say, if I can help, I want to be there for you. I know this is going to sound so wrong after me talking about Juliet for all this time, but I like what we have. I mean, really like. Me too. Thank you for this evening. It means a lot that we talked. Gabrielle shuffled back in a chair and pointed inside. Will you excuse me for a moment? And Gabrielle got up to go to the ladies. What are you doing over there? What are you doing over there sitting all on your own? We're just on our way to yours, called Betsy from the other side of the cobbled road. Gerald looked up to see Barry and Betsy crossing over and heading towards his table. Betsy, leave the poor guy alone. He may be on a 2 glasses. Have you a date? Pop in there, just 2 glasses. Comment she noticed. Have you a date? You don't have to answer her. Come on, Betsy, let's leave him to it. Trying to change the subject a little. You're both running a bit late for your 7 o'clock cocktails tonight. I won't say anything, promise, Gerard replied, winking at Betsy. She was feeling a bit tired earlier. You know how it is. Anyway, we'll leave you to it. Have a nice night. Sensing Betsy wasn't going to leave any time soon, and certainly curious to know who the other glass was for, he found himself pulling over some chairs from a nearby table and inviting them to join them. They were good people, and he felt he could do with lifting the mood, and if anyone could do it, it would be these two. Oh, we don't want to intrude, Gerard. Yes, you do, my darling. Just sit yourself down. I'm going to go inside to see what beers they have. And mouthed to Gerard a thank you before heading inside. Surprise me with something, she called in after him, and turned her attention quickly back to Gerard. Do we know her? Before Gerard could answer, Betsy let out a squeal of delight. Oh, Gabrielle, wonderful, just... Perfect. Betsy, how lovely to see you, she said, sitting back at the table. I've just seen Barry inside, ordering, by the looks of it, something very understated, and smiled at Gerard. So is this a date, or... Let's just say friends catching up, she replied. Gerard took her hand. Good friends, he added. More wine, or would you like something else? Wine is good for me, thank you. And Gerard got up to see if Barry needed any help, leaving the ladies to it for a moment and to order the wine. Tell me everything, dear, quizzed Betsy, and don't leave anything out. Gabrielle laughed. There's really not much to tell. I know about Juliet, and we're just... You like him, I can tell, Betsy interrupted, blushing a little. Well, yeah, it's great, but we'll see. He's gorgeous, you're gorgeous, it's meant to be, and my dear, it's time he was happy again, trust me. And she squeezed Gabrielle's hand. Oh my goodness. And she squeezed Gabrielle's hand. Oh my goodness, what have you ordered for me? Betsy exclaimed, flinging her arms in the air with delight upon seeing a tall cocktail appear in a blue vase, with several straws, a sparkler, and a feathered parrot perched on the side. Couldn't they find something to jazz it up a little? She said, in a straight face, then burst into her recognisable laughter. I said to the guy, keep it simple. She won't thank you if you jazz it up, so enjoy, my love. And he placed the house special cocktail on the table in front of Betsy, with Gerard bringing out the beers and wine. Take a photo, darling, while it's still all lit up. I'll do it. Barry, lean in. All three, let me hear you say cocktails, Gabrielle said, pulling out her phone and getting the shot. That's a good one. Betsy took a sip. And with much consideration, it's good, really quite good, Gerard, but you are still my favourite. Gabrielle, what this man can do. Okay, Betsy, enjoy. You're making the nice people blush, Barry said, taking his wife's hand and kissing it. It was difficult not to notice again how much love they had for each other, one starting a sentence and the other finishing it. They bounced quips off each other like a good game of squash, allowing others to join in or equally happy in their own world. It was clear to Gabrielle and Gerard. That Gerard was very fond of them both, and as they enjoyed a few drinks more, the conversation twisted and turned with hearty laughter and very cheeky at times. It was just what Gerard and Gabrielle needed, and it was difficult not to have a good time in such warm and friendly company. And more, Gabrielle felt her decision to move here was the right one. I'm going to get one for the road and then take my good lady home. She's given me those come-to-bed eyes, joked Barry. Oh, stop it, you old fool. But yes, one more I could struggle down, Betsy replied. My usual nightcap, please, darling. I'll get these. Stay where you are, Barry, said Gabrielle as she stood up and grabbed a few glasses to take back inside. They'd managed to get quite a collection. Oh, she's a keeper, replied Barry, sitting back in his chair. My good lady will have a Cointreau, please, and I think I'll have a whisky. Any Johnny Walker with just ice, please. Oh, stop. Ice in your Cointreau, Betsy? Please, she answered, nodding, sucking the last drops of her cocktail through the straw. I'll help you. Let me take those glasses, said Gerard, standing up and taking the glasses from Gabrielle and stacking up a few more. Then they made their way inside and placed the ones they have done on the bar and waited to get the attention of the older gentleman behind the bar who was busy serving at the other end. I hope you're okay with how it's gone tonight. It wasn't my first plan, and you had mentioned food. I did, but it's fine. We had nuts, and she laughed, remembering a few Betsy jokes. It's been really fun. They are such good company. They are, aren't they? And they're like you, you know? And he stepped in a little closer towards her at the bar. They do they? She replied softly, smiled, and enjoying the feeling she got when he was close to her. And you know, I do too, he whispered, causing the hairs to stand up at the back of her neck. She admired his strong, beautiful features and the way his black shirt fit perfectly over his shoulders, with just the right amount of skin showing from the defined neck down to his chest. Would it be unreasonable if I kissed you? He said softly. I think that would be very reasonable indeed. And they gently moved in towards each other, their lips meeting with a soft but meaningful kiss. I like doing that, he said, smiling, as they were interrupted with the bartender coming to serve them. Gabrielle smiled, hoping there may be a second one soon, but turned her attention back to the drinks order. Sorry. Please can we have one Cointreau with ice? Have you Johnny Walker? And 2 grey gooses, please, she asked, looking at Gerard for approval of what she had ordered for them. Read my mind. Red label, Johnny Walker, said the bartender. I think we're actually going to put that to the Gabriel's one. I hope there was a second one. So. And that one there. Perfect, that's perfect. Just with ice, please, too. And the grey goose is just as shots, thank you. The bartender raised his hand to confirm and went to pour the drinks. Cheers to you all. What an unexpected fun evening, said Betsy as she sipped down the last of her Cointreau and placed her glass back onto the table. Are you ready to take me home, darling? I think Barry may have something to say about that, joked Gerard, and that sent Betsy into a fit of giggles. Come on you, let's get you home, added Barry, standing up and pulling out her chair. It's been lovely, but see you tomorrow, Gerard, in the usual haunt, and held out his hand to shake Gerard's. Gabrielle got up and went around the table and kissed them both on the cheek. Thank you for a fun evening. Take care now, she added. Betsy stopped and turned back around to look at them both. Just perfect. Good night, you two. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, and gave a final hearty laugh as they carried on back down the cobbled road, leaving Gerard and Gabrielle once again alone. Hungry? Famished, replied Gabrielle. As they walked hand in hand back to her hotel, both feeling undeniably full after deciding to settle on a Swift burger and chips with extra cheese, which had surprised Gerard that she had eaten it all. I don't know where you put that, he laughed. I thought she's never going to eat all that. I was hungry, okay? Releasing her hand and softly punching his arm. I thought maybe she would want to share. But God, Jesus, I thought for 1 minute I was going to lose mine. Yeah, okay, have your fun, she replied, really enjoying Gerard's company and the stillness of the night. The wind had dropped a little, and a few clouds floated high in the sky, passing over the moon once in a while. So that to there, that to there, that to there, that to there. Can you hear those waves coming in? I think a storm may be coming in from the sea. Yes, I did hear rain was forecast, she responded, stopping and turning to Gerard. I just want to, she went to say, but Gerard placed his hands either side of her face and kissed her under the moonlit sky. This time a longer kiss than earlier, and both embraced each other, only separating with Gerard joking, "Was that a little bit of cheese?" Gabrielle blushed a little. Before she could say anything, it was soon forgotten when he took her back into his strong arms and pulled her in tightly and passionately kissed her lips. She could feel his breath on her skin as he moved to softly kiss her cheek and down her neck. She gave a small moan of pleasure as she felt herself wanting more, and in the back of her mind she could hear her subconscious telling her to be careful and slow down. I don't want to rush things, Gerard, she said, pulling herself away slightly and resting her hands on his chest. I know, it's okay. Let's get you back, just in case the rain does come. And almost as soon as he had said the words, the heavens opened up, first with a few drops, then a few more. Oh my goodness, where did that come from? Laughed Gabrielle, as Gerard took her hand and started to run a little. Quick, down here is a shortcut, and they hurried down behind a few old buildings. This leads straight to the path to your hotel. This isn't you luring me down some alley, is it? She replied curiously with a smile. Gerard stopped and turned towards her, stroking a piece of wet hair away from her face. He admired how beautiful and sexy she looked in the rain under the light from the moon that glistened across her skin, down her arms and across her chest. He gently stepped her back out of the light against a nearby wall. You're completely safe with me. I wouldn't let anything hurt you. I know, she whispered, and took him into her arms, and together they let the rain cascade over them. Gerard placed one of his arms against the wall to shelter her a little from the rain, and his other arm drew her in close to him. She wanted Gerard with every fibre of her body, and was doing everything in her power to silence that nagging voice, but it was relentless. She couldn't stop her breathing getting a little heavier, as was his, as they started to get caught up with each other's emotions and desires. But something still gave Gerard the feeling and strength to slow down, and he lifted his head. Come on, I'll get you back, I promise, he said softly, kissing her and then taking her hand again and led her to the end. Taking a sharp right and then a left. See, it's just down there. I'll be okay from here. No, I said I'd get you back safely, and that's what I'm going to do. But she stopped. I know. The hotel, it freaked me out last time, but I'm okay, honestly. As long as you're sure. Yeah. Hey, that wind is starting to pick up now. I'm not leaving you out here alone. Come, let's get you in. As they pulled open the hotel door and rushed in from the rain and wind, Gabrielle could see that Gerard's eyes were everywhere. I'm okay, it's okay. Wet, but okay, he smiled. Gabrielle couldn't help but notice how good he looked, tanned and wet all over. Even if he was still dressed, she could see the way the wet clothes outlined his physique. Well, thanks for this evening, and for walking me back to my hotel, she said, thinking hard whether she should invite him to her room, with equally wanting to invite him. She said, thinking hard whether she should invite him into her room, with equally wanting. I think they need to be in italics. Should and wanting. What a day, hey? Yeah, it's been a big day. God, I mean, you thinking about moving here and setting up the crystal? Wow, it's a lot. He looked around, still unsure how he felt about both being back in the hotel and the thought of his ex-father-in-law selling it to Gabrielle and Crystal. Maybe he wouldn't even want to sell it, as it had so many memories. Maybe he would want to, just for that very reason. But then he looked at Gabrielle and he wanted her to stay. She was everything he needed and wanted. He just hadn't realised how much he missed feeling something. I think there needs to be some italics in there. He looked around, sure. Maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he would. Maybe he would. Maybe there. Gabrielle smiled suddenly, feeling a little awkward, like she was 15 again. I've got to blame that fish. Yeah, the fish. He hovered for a moment with a little tornado of thoughts going around in his mind. Anyway, I should really head off. That weather's not getting any better, and I better check in on the bar to make sure they bolt it down, all down. And he slowly made a few steps back towards the door. Of course, I would say Crystal will help Maggie, but I think more likely distract her. Yeah, I think you might be right, but Ryan is there too, so it should be fine. Gabrielle nodded and started to walk backwards to try and diffuse the sudden awkwardness, while Gerard had one hand back on the front door. Okay, well, thank you again for tonight, and be careful out there. Hope the bar's okay. Gerard nodded, half of him wanting to go over and take her in his arms, but the other half of him just wanted to get the hell out of there. Thank you, it's been... I know, she said, smiled and turned herself around and hurried quickly back to her room with an ache of longing that she hadn't felt in years. How had it happened that this beautiful, gorgeous, kind man had come into her life, and how she now wanted more? She heard the front door close as she looked back down the corridor and placed her key in the lock, opened the door, closed it behind her, and leant herself on the back of the door. What a day it had been, she thought. With her thoughts interrupted by a firm knock on the door, she spun around, opening it, just hoping it was Gerard the other side. I forgot something, he said softly, and wrapped his arms around her, kissing her passionately, pulling her in tightly. He could feel her every curve against his body, and she held on tightly in his strong arms, sensing his arousal. She knew she could invite him. She knew she could invite him in. But her instincts told her to settle with a kiss. You should go before the weather gets even worse, she said softly, not wanting the words to be true, but knew it was the right thing. He kissed her again. I know, but it's not easy. I mean, look at you, Jesus, I really... And kissed her again. Gabrielle broke away gently, smiling at the thought of their kiss, and reluctantly stepped a little bit back into the room. Shh, go. I know. Go on, go, she laughed. Okay. Can I see you tomorrow then? I'd be disappointed if you didn't, she said, with her eyes locked on each other. Right, I'm closing the door now. Right, I'm disappointed if you didn't, she said. I've got to go to the... Oops. Okay. I want to to these wet clothes. Gerard laughed and threw his head back. God, you're killing me now. Gabrielle stepped back towards him, took his hand, pulled him into her and kissed him softly and whispered, "Thank you." Gerard ran his hand down the side of her face, tucking that familiar loose hair behind her ear, kissing her on the cheek and then softly on her lips. "No. Thank you. Good night, Gabrielle." Right, so that's another one of chapter on day 2, which will then lead on to day 3, which I'll have to do next. Thank you so much for joining me. Please take good care. If you're writing anything, happy writing, and I'll see you soon.